the umbrella of the Almighty God and the Redeemed Christian Church of God, and I'm grateful for that opportunity. This is home, so I also have to say thank you to my father and my mother in the Lord, Pastor and Pastor Mrs. Charles Adegoke, for the opportunity as well. Thank you all. I hope you can hear me very well. And before I start, I think the topic speaks for itself. So I'm not here to talk about getting a job or something like that. It's to talk about a career. And I will define it and talk through that. But two things that I want you to bear in mind, and we will get to the question and answer session later, and you can ask me about that. One, I want you to remember that the era of traditional careers is over. So later on, I will talk about it, and later on you can also ask me why I said so. The second thing I want you to also remember is ownership. A career is about ownership. It's your career, and that's why we say supercharge your career. So it's not about asking somebody to drive your career for you, it's yours. So ownership, that's the second thing I want you to remember. So moving on, I hope it works. Can you help? Can you click that? Okay, so while we're waiting for that, the other thing I also had in mind when I was going to talk about this is the fact that we have a very diverse group of people. So I wanted to be able to provide something for every segment. So as we go along, you will see that I'm going to be trying to talk to as many people as possible. But one thing I want you to do is, if it doesn't speak to your particular situation, please, when it gets to the question and answer session, raise up your hand and let me know what is being missed out. Okay, great, thank you. So that's my agenda for today. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page. So I start out by talking about what a career is. I'll also talk about career phases, because that's when I want to be able to speak to different people, because a career is a very long space of time, and we have different phases when you're going through your career. So I want to talk, from starting out to, various phases of your career as a professional. And then I don't want to leave out the people who run their own businesses as well. It's also a career, and there's some things that we can share, that we can talk about. Finally, I want to then talk about the things that you need to keep challenging yourself with as a way to supercharge your career and to make sure it's going on the track that you want it to go. Then I want to share a couple of future trends, because the world of work is changing. The world is totally not what it was 10, 15 years ago. It won't be the same in another 5 to 10 years. So we have to be prepared and know where we're going with that. So I'll start off by, trying to define and explain how I see a career and what it means. Basically, it's a lifetime body of work. So when we talk about career, you're talking about a long term. You're talking about something that typically lasts you between 30 to 40 years, might last you all your whole life. So don't think short term, don't think in the immediate and think, oh, my current job or my next job. It is your lifetime body of work and what you would achieve. And I was careful to use the word occupations and not jobs, because again, I don't want that confusion of you thinking a particular job. We've seen people who have moved from one occupation to the other. I've seen medical doctors become financial analysts. I've seen engineers become quants, people in banks. We've seen people do different things. So do not be bound by what you are doing today, but think about your career as a long-term thing. I also say specifically that it's not about getting a job. So yes, we go out, we apply for roles, but it must be part of a plan to getting somewhere. And that's the whole idea. You take ownership, you make a plan, you build towards where you want to go with your career. I say specifically that a career doesn't have to be linear or homogeneous. And I'll explain what that means. In the past, and I'm sure our parents can talk to this, you come out of school, you get a first job, you're thinking, how do I get promoted to the next level? How do I start from being an admin person to being a supervisor, to being a manager, senior manager? That was the way of life. But today, it has nothing to do with that, or it is beginning to have less to do with that. Today, it's about making choices or building experiences that take you to an ultimate outcome. So today you can find somebody come straight out of school and get into, maybe become a sales rep. Do that for a couple of years, leave that, and then become a marketing specialist. Leave that, become a regulatory person. Leave that, go start a business. Come back into work, do something different. So it's no longer linear. It's no longer, I must do this to get to that, to do that. You can have different experiences while you're building out your career. So do not be hung up on, oh, the next move for me is to try and become a senior manager where I am. No, the world is bigger than that. And you have to be open to those opportunities. You don't have to have it all figured out. Remember, we're talking about 30, 40, 50 years. So you don't have to know everything today. But you have to have a plan. And then you also have to set milestones. So you know that, okay, between now and the next 5 years, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to achieve. And this is how I need to get there. So these are the qualifications I need. These are the experiences I need. These are the kind of companies that can help me. And then by the time you get to that milestone, you can then evaluate and say, have I met all of those things that I wanted to do? Or do I need to make a change? Do I need to change to something else? Do I need to revise my plan? And then what's the next stage for me to go to? So don't think that you must have it all figured out today, especially for those of us that are starting out, and also for parents that are trying to guide their children. And I'll talk a bit about that as we go along. Finally, I say there's no one-size-fits-all approach. There's this thing about, comparisons, about comparing ourselves to other people. We do that a lot. Yes, human beings are by nature competitive. But at the same time, you have to understand that your career is yours. It's a unique experience. It's about what you want. You have to take ownership for it. You have to drive it. You have to know what you're passionate about, and you have to stick to your plan. So no matter what happens, unless you get superior information that helps you recalibrate what you're thinking, you have to always put yourself in the position of thinking, does this work for me? Not what somebody else is doing or what other experiences some other people are doing. People set out at the same time, but they arrive at various destinations at different times for different reasons. But everything that you do along the way gives you an experience that helps you to be successful later on. So even when you don't succeed at the first opportunity, you're learning something. Take that learning, build on it, and then move on and continue to be successful. So I talked about phases earlier, because human beings particularly, we have the ability to learn, to grow, to develop. And for that reason, you don't stay the same place you are all through your life. We're not animals. I mean, you have dogs, they're trained to be guard dogs, and they remain guard dogs all their lives. But a human being starts out, and every single day as you learn, you are building an experience that helps you to do something else, that helps you to do more. And for that reason, you have phases in your life, because as soon as you've conquered something, you can move on to the next thing. And that's how we need to manage our career. We have to understand that at any point in time, you are in a particular space, and what the summary of your experiences up to that point allows you to do certain things. Then you need to then think about what next for me to do the next thing. And that's why I talk about, to have a fulfilling career, you need to set objectives for each phase. So when I go to school, people go to school and say, look, I want to make sure I come out with the first class. There's a reason for it, because they're thinking ahead. They know that immediately sets them up at the top and makes opportunities available for them that will not be available for those below. So they're already running the race. As soon as they come out and get those opportunities, they're thinking, what's next? In 2 to 3 years, I want to be able to do this. I want to be able to take on this responsibility. What do I need to do that? Then you start seeing people going to get second degrees. You see people writing professional qualification exams. They're preparing for the different phases of their career. They're making plans, they're setting objectives, and they're working towards it. I said at the beginning that the era of traditional careers is over. And it's a fact. What we are finding out today is that most of the jobs that we had 20 years ago no longer exist. And most of the jobs that exist today would not exist in 10 years. It is a fact. The world of work is changing so rapidly that jobs are becoming obsolete. And human beings, people, need to prepare for that. You need to be ready for that. It doesn't mean what you're doing today is wrong. It just means that you need to think forward and say, what is the next thing? What is the evolution of what I'm doing? And how do I prepare myself to take advantage of that? But it also means that you don't look down on what is going on today. I'll give you an example. I work for a beauty company, right? And one of the things that we've done recently is we've launched a new beauty product. It's a lipstick. To do that, my company actually worked with an influencer. I don't know if you know the meaning of the word influencer. So those are the people that are on Instagram and all of that. They take pictures and show you what's going on, what they're using, and convince you that it's a good thing. Now, they worked with one of the primary influencers in the Middle East. Her name is Noah. They worked with her to design this product. I'm talking about, the company I work for is the third largest beauty company in the world. They work with this one person because she has like 5 million followers on Instagram. That is her career. That's her job. That's what she does today. That's how she makes a living. By influencing other people and showing them products that she's being paid to showcase. She's developed a new product with this company and they've put it out and the product even bears her name. That is a career. That is what people are doing today. There's no fixed mold anymore. You take what you are passionate about, you take what you have the skills to deliver, you take the opportunities that are available in the marketplace and you make them work for you. That is the new marketplace we're playing in. And I said also that you have to take ownership for your career. You have to drive it. Even if you're an employee, you're working in a particular company, you don't wait for that company to come and tell you, oh, we're ready to promote you. No. You prepare yourself and you work for that promotion, or you work for other opportunities that are available. In my career, it's going on 20 years. I think I've only been promoted once. Doesn't mean that it's the best example to give you, but I'm trying to show that, but I've held increasingly senior positions. But that was because I took ownership of my own career. I drove it. Whenever I saw an opportunity, I took it. I would evaluate and say, does this take me to the next level? Or is it the path to getting to where I need to go? I've also taken a step down to get to somewhere else. So that's one other thing I said about careers being linear. It's about choices. It's about making sure that you know ultimately where you want to go, and then you're building those experiences to take you there. So you're not hung up on, oh, what's going to happen next, but you're sticking to the plan, and you're working towards that plan. So going into the first phase, of course, is about starting out. And this is, I'm talking to young people who are starting out and thinking about their career. But the first thing I wanted to say is, career decision making doesn't start when the person comes out of university and looking for a job. So parents, we have a responsibility to play here. If you think about it, in secondary school, when you get to JS3, I'm talking about people who are from Nigeria and understand the system there. When you get to your JS3, you get told, what do you want to do? So you get, either you go into science or you go into commercial. You're already making a career decision, which would stay with you. Because if you don't go into science, you cannot then come back 3 years later and say, I want to be an engineer, or I want to be a medical doctor. So it goes to say that today, more than ever, parents have to think about that and guide their children. I'm not saying tell them what they must do. No, we're not there. But help them, provide those experiences, provide those learnings that help them to bring out what is best for them and help them make the right decision at the time that they need to make it. So parents, that's our responsibility. Now, for young people who then go through that, they've decided what they want to do, they've gone to school, they've acquired learning, and they're about to start up. One thing you have to know is you don't know what you don't know. You are starting out, you don't understand the world of work, you don't know what goes on out there. So prepare yourself for learning. Just open yourself up for learning. All you need to be thinking about is, how do I build my experiences? How do I build up my learning so I can add value? It goes exactly to what Dikindele just said. You get paid for the value that you bring to the table. And that's what I do. That's what I've been doing. So I'm a compensation and benefits professional. You get paid for the value you bring. Nobody cares how many degrees or whatever you have. If you have a PhD and all you're doing is being a janitor, you'll be paid for being a janitor. You prepare for what you want and you work towards it. So know that you don't know stuff. That's the first thing. But then begin to prepare yourself to acquire that knowledge that lets you be successful. And I also say that you're not sure of your capabilities. So when I say capabilities, I'm talking about, yes, you have learning, you have a degree, but you don't know how you respond in different situations. You don't know if a project comes and you're under pressure, how do you respond? You've not been tested, so you're not aware. So, but the good thing about it is that it's also a blank canvas in the sense that you don't have hang-ups from past experiences, because that also holds us back. You have an opportunity to build anew and to create a path for yourself. So you walk towards that, and you seek others who have the experience, who have the learning, who can guide you on that path. And that's why I say the focus must be on seeking learning opportunities. And I also mentioned that you have to overcome the temptation to make choices for economic reasons. I know it's tough. We all seek a job to get paid so that we can live good lives. Some of us need that more than others. But think about it, if you're looking to do something for 30, 40 years, spending the first 2 or 3 years learning, building, and equipping yourself so that you can have that fantastic 30, 40 years makes more sense than rushing into something that then doesn't work out later. So I've seen people who've jumped in, who've taken jobs because that was the first thing available, and then a couple of years down the line, their skills become obsolete, they can't rise beyond a certain level, they lose their jobs and they're cast away. Spend the early part of your career trying to learn, trying to build yourself up, trying to understand what the world of work needs, trying to know the skills that are available. And the good thing is you are in the best time ever because of the ubiquity of knowledge. The knowledge is so available now. All you need is internet access, and we have our smartphones. Go online, you can learn practically anything. So today, there's the ability to learn and be able to build on those skills to grow yourself better than ever before. So I talk to people who are in university, and for those who have children in university, and say to them, you have to build, the thing that sets you apart is, it's, like I said, you don't know what you don't know. So when you come out of school, you don't have work experience and you have nothing to sell. But if you've been doing internships and trying to learn while you are in school, you take summer off and you take 2 weeks here, 3 weeks there, you go and work for somebody free of charge. Maybe they give you lunch or not. But what you are doing is you're learning from them. You're picking up things that will help you by the time you're ready to actually go into the world of work. So I say to parents specifically here, don't let your children come back from school and all they're thinking about is enjoying their holiday and jumping up and down. Start to prepare them for the world of work. Start to prepare them so that as soon as they come back, they're thinking, where do I go to spend 4 weeks or 3 weeks to learn 1 or 2 things that my colleagues at school are not picking up? So that when I'm ready, I will be ahead of the pile. The questions that they will ask, the environment that they will be in, you will be very comfortable and ready to succeed. You'll be well ahead of your pack. And particularly, you have to think about your CV. What I notice is that a lot of us just jumble words together, don't read it, maybe copy and paste from somewhere else. But you need to understand very clearly that your CV is like, they say, make a good first impression. So whenever you send a CV to a recruiter, think about the person is getting 1,000 other CVs. They are sifting through it, they're ready to dump and put it in the trash bin as soon as they get it if it doesn't meet the criteria that they're looking for. You have to make sure that yours rises to the top of the pile. And how do you do that? You put things that are interesting in there. So remember, we're talking about someone that is starting out. So the person doesn't have great work experience to talk about, but you have other experiences. You have volunteering that you've done, even if it's in church. You are the guy in charge of media, making those fantastic media things that we are watching. It is a skill. You never know who will find it attractive. You have people in church who are doing different things. You have community events that you help to manage. Those are experiences that can translate to work. So don't think that whatever you are doing doesn't make sense. Build on those things, put them in your CV in a way that makes sense, that can convey a message to the person who is looking at it and send to them that, yes, this is a responsible person. This is somebody that if we give an activity, he will deliver on it. This is somebody that is conscientious. That's the message you need to send when you're starting out, because you don't have work experience to sell. but you have to sell other things that help you to start out. So building a very smart CV, and there are lots of tools that you find on the internet that will help you with, formatting it, the order in which you need to spell it. I always say to people, first thing you need to do is give a summary of yourself that in one paragraph tells us exactly who you are and what you're capable of doing and what you can bring to the table. Then you talk about your, academic qualifications. Then you talk about your interests, and that's where you begin to put things like, I did this, I volunteered here, I handled this, I was part of this group, and all of those things will help you rise to the top of the pile. So starting out is a great time, it's a time of excitement, but you need, even from that time, begin to plan for your career ahead and what you're trying to accomplish, and not just be thinking, I just need to get a job immediately so I start getting paid. And then we move on to, So we move on to the early career professional. So this is typically, you've done your first or second job, 3 to 5 years on, you've been somewhat successful, at least you've stayed in a job, you still have, you have a career so far. And you're now thinking, how do I begin to set myself apart? So you've all come in as entry-level people, you've continued to chug along, you've done one promotion along the line. How do I set myself apart so that I'm going to be given opportunities to rise to the top, or opportunities to do interesting things or different things? So here, you need to begin to think about what are those skills or qualifications that you need to build up. So this is when people begin to do second degrees, people begin to do professional qualifications depending on what field they are in. People begin to think about other things that they need to add to their body of knowledge to make them more valuable, because you don't want to stay in one place such that if change comes, you get swept away. So you need to focus, and it's a time to be agile, to think, to be smart, and not just let the tide just take you. So you're not waiting for the company to decide for you what you should do, but you want to also begin to take ownership. And I say, for me, learning is a lifelong thing. You can never stop learning, but it's especially important at the start that you make learning your priority. Read books, find books to read, find articles to read, even if it's not an area of your specialization. Find things to read constantly. And if you don't understand it, reach out to people to help you out with that. Because that's how you build your body of knowledge. See, the thing with the brain is such a fantastic organ that no matter what you take in, even if you're not using it today, someday it will be important. You just find yourself in a conversation and you'll be contributing to it and you'll be surprised. But it's because you had read something or taken something on board that puts you in that position to do that. So please, read. And I say, don't settle for what you already have. So some people, they get into it. I'll give you an example. So some people, they get a good first job. Maybe they get into a bank or one of these nice telecoms companies. They're earning a nice income that they probably didn't think they would get in university. And they become comfortable. Not realizing that, look, we're talking about a marathon, not a sprint. So you cannot afford to settle. You have to understand that this is a journey. You have to continue thinking about what's next. What's the next opportunity that gets me to more success, that gives me more challenges, that gives me more opportunities? And you have to think about that and begin to work towards that. So do not settle for what you already have. It might sound great, but work towards something better. And the key is to be in control. So like I said, it's about supercharging your career. It's about taking ownership for it. So it might seem like you're still young and you're thinking, it's far away. But take ownership for what you want to be, and you will see the opportunities line up for you. Finally, I talk about, start to build a professional network. And that's the third pillar for me. So I talked about traditional careers are over. I talked about, what else did I talk about? I talked about ownership. Here, I'm talking about networking. They say that thing about it takes a village to raise a child. To have a career, it takes a network. You have to build a network, a proper professional network, And the good thing again is we have tools like LinkedIn. Create a LinkedIn profile, update it, reach out to people, join professional groups which help you to learn about the area that you are interested in. The thing about that is that it gets you out there, it gets people to get to know you. You can also share your thoughts, you can learn from there. And it also puts you in a space for people to find you when they are looking for people with particular skills. Because this is the point where you need people to find you, and social media helps it happen faster. So build those networks, not just online, but offline as well. So offline in terms of whatever you're doing, if you're an engineer, join the Society of Engineers. Attend their meetings. Let them get to know you, discuss, share. If you're a HR person, join CIPD or one of these other things. If you're at home, join CIPM. Join professional associations to make sure that you are part of the body of whatever you're doing, so that you're recognized and opportunities that come out from there will be available to you. That's what you need to be focusing on when you're building your career. And I did a lot of that. When I was based in Nigeria, I came out here by virtue of the fact that I linked in with somebody on LinkedIn. So I was at a place where I was looking after Africa for my bank. But I wanted to do more. I wanted to challenge myself. I said, so why can't a guy from Nigeria go out to the Middle East and be one of the best there? So I started to link with people that are on LinkedIn that are already based in the Middle East, very senior people. And one of them accepted my connection request and responded to me and said, oh, how are you doing? By the way, I have an opportunity. In my bank that is so and so role. So I said, kindly send me this job description. I'll look at it. If it makes sense, I'll take it on. And he sent it to me, and one thing led to another. They sent me a plane ticket to come out for an interview. I came out, we had a discussion, and before you knew it, I moved out here in 2012. That was how I moved to the UAE. It wasn't my company that sent me. It wasn't me going out trying to find a job or applying for a job. It was through a connection invite that I sent to somebody on LinkedIn, and it just so happened that I had the skills that they were looking for. So building a network can help you open doors that you don't even know exist. So you have to focus on that. Focus on building that for yourself. So now I get to what I call the mid-career professional. So this person has done very well for themselves, typically between 7 to 10 years of work, probably in a first managerial or supervisory position, or has been doing well for a while, or waiting for that next step. Here, you could easily be at a crossroads because you've been doing well, or you've been at that place, and you're thinking, how do I go to the next level? But here it's about taking the opportunities to then become a leader, to start to lead others, or if you are in a technical area, to become a thought leader, to become a technical expert in what you do. So someone like me, when I'm approached for roles, it's not about leading other people. It's about becoming in an advisory capacity as an expert. And people do that. So don't be hung up on, oh, does that job offer me opportunities to lead other people? No. If the job offers you opportunities to deepen your expertise, it's also valuable. And you have to also put that in your calibration. One thing you have to think about specifically here is, if you're trying to become a leader, emotional intelligence plays a massive role in doing that. And that's basically about how you interact with others and how you respond to situations. Nobody wants a leader that is going to come and scatter the whole shop and make everything make things not work well for other people. You have to have mastered yourself. And that's why when they talk about leadership, the first step to leadership is self-mastery. You have to understand yourself. You have to be confident in yourself, in your capabilities. You have to know yourself and what triggers you, and try to control that and be better at that. Then you will have the opportunities to lead others. So you have to, work on your emotional intelligence. You have to, grow up and really be at a place where you can be trusted and engaged to lead other people. The other thing is about seeking external validation and recognition. So I talked before about building your network. So that's a start. So that person, has now grown up, has been engaging, has built a network. Now you have to start adding value to those networks. You have to start, giving back, contributing, sharing your own thoughts and ideas so that you are externally recognized. Remember, you are no longer a young professional here. You have to start adding value to conversations, to other people. So external validation comes from the fact that, I'll give you an example. So people who are accountants, they take the chartered accountant exam. And after they've qualified, 10 years later, they become fellows because they are expected to have built the body of work and experience to get there. That is external validation. So when somebody is looking for a chartered accountant, of course, they're going to pick a fellow first before they pick somebody that is newly qualified. That's exactly what happens here. So you build, because you have been building your experience and your knowledge and your know-how, you have been impacting your professional network and all of that. You build that validation and recognition of the fact that this person is an expert. Whenever we need somebody, that's the person that we need to go for. Same thing with lawyers. After a while of going to the Supreme Court, you become a SAN. So it takes time. It feeds back into what we are saying about a career being a long-term thing, being a marathon. You build on your experiences and your body of work to get to a certain place in time. And of course, I mentioned social groups, and church is a very good place for you to also build on those experiences and the knowledge. It was a good thing that I saw, the excellent men were mentioned here. That's a responsibility. If they drive that successfully, they learn and they build, capabilities to lead in other places. It can translate into a place of work as well. So, taking on responsibility in places, you might not see what you gain out of it immediately, but it helps you to think a different way, to understand how to deal with challenges and to be able to embrace them and be successful. I talk here about having a mentor because this is where it is very important. Because you are at that crossroad between being a mid-level person. So you have been getting by being a technical expert. You're very good at what you do. People know you for what you do. But they haven't yet tested you in a leadership domain. Now, leadership is not something that you learn like technical skills. Leadership is something that you experience. And one way to build on it is to learn from others. And that's why it's great to have a mentor. Having a mentor can be the difference between being successful and not. And choosing wisely, choosing a mentor wisely, finding somebody who's been there, but who's not only been there and be successful, but shares the same values as you. So I'm not saying just go out there and grab somebody and think that that's going to change your life. If you grab the wrong person and the person teaches you bad behaviors, then you get into trouble. You have to be careful about who you choose and who you use as a mentor and who you want to copy and use their examples. But it's very, very important. And we can have mentoring programs in church. I particularly like that, because you have different category of people, different caliber of people. So those who have gone ahead can serve as mentors to others. And it's a safe environment because we all know we're members of the body of Christ. So at least you are sure of the values of the person. So, that could be an area for you to find a mentor if you're looking for one. Here I also say that you have to test the waters because typically you've been comfortable, you've been successful. Most people would have been in only one or two companies or thereabouts. You have to know your worth. And that comes by testing the waters. That comes by, you're not looking for a job, but you apply anyways because you want to go for an interview. You haven't been to one for 3, 4, 5 years, but you want someone to test you. You want to even know what you know and what you don't know. Because that's important. We all have gaps, but we don't know those gaps because we're successful in our current work. We're doing fine. Every year the manager is telling us you are fantastic. But are you really fantastic? Or is it because your manager is not fantastic, so whatever you do that looks good, looks fantastic in his own eyes? You test yourself by trying out other things. Doesn't mean that you change, but at least you begin to see what your gaps are and you can fill those gaps and then move forward and bring that experience back into what you're doing currently. So here I talk about people who are senior professionals. They've been doing great work for a long period of time. It might seem like they don't need any help with career advice or all of that. That may be true. Because they have been successful for a long while. They have been doing well. They've put in 20 years of work. They're already raising children and all of that. But I say very, very, from the very start that there's never too much to accomplish. There is never too much to accomplish. You're a general manager in a bank. Who says you can't be a president or senate president? Who says you can't do something more? Who says you can't be CEO of somewhere else? There is always a next level for you to accomplish. And if we have that mindset that there is no end to a career, or there's no end to a legacy, and that's a key word that we have to think about. You're working for a purpose and trying to build a legacy for yourself. If you are thinking in those terms, by the time you get here, you can start a new path. You can do something different. And the key here is self-evaluation. You look back and you say, okay, all through my career, I had milestones, I had objectives. Did I meet them? If I didn't meet them, why? And if I did I do it to the level that I wanted to? What new objectives can I set for myself? What new challenges can I set for myself? What else can I do that will set me apart and make me successful? So I talk about, identifying your passion. Maybe up until then, you've been doing a particular job because you were great at it, but it wasn't what you were passionate about. Do you still have the opportunity to change and do it? Absolutely. Absolutely. I know I had a colleague when I was at Citi who had done about 20 years as a finance professional. She had risen to become CFO of our bank in Kenya then. And she switched and went into HR. She could easily have continued on that track and become a regional CFO or a CEO, but she decided that no, what I always wanted to do was to develop other people. That's what I'm passionate about. So she switched and moved into HR as a generalist, and later on became a head of HR for the region. That's 2 careers in one. So it's never too late. You can do something different. You can always rethink and take a different path, as long as you are clear in your objectives, your principles, and what you're trying to achieve. And at this stage, first of all, I had said get a mentor. So what a mentor does for you is it provides example and provides an example of what they've done to be successful. What a coach does is helps you to work out what you need to do to be successful. So there's a difference. A coach doesn't necessarily have to be somebody in your field or somebody that has done what you've done. What they simply do is help you to get to the answers yourself. So first of all, they help you to identify what your objectives should be. Then they help you to articulate how do you get there. So that's why you see senior leaders and people as senior as CEOs have coaches. They have people who coach them, who help them, to be better, to think differently. Because we all need a fresh pair of eyes. Sometimes we get so stuck in what we're doing that we have tunnel vision. That's all you see because that's what you know. But if you have somebody else who is asking you questions, who is challenging your thinking, who is helping you to, recalibrate it and say, okay, yes, I made the right choice and I got the outcome, but were there other options that I could have considered that would be more efficient or effective? So that's what a coach does. So a coach can help you articulate the next goals for yourself and help you to change and become better. And that's for people who are quite senior. I think the last part for me is a call out to people who are very senior. I had said before that, mentoring is a good thing for people who are trying to grow. At the same time, people who are already senior, being mentors is also a good thing in 2 ways. 1, you are helping other people. 2, you're also helping yourself. Because remember, we've said this thing, the world is changing. So the world in which you grew up and were successful is different from the world today. So when you're mentoring, it's a 2-way relationship. So yes, you are providing an example to that person of what you've done to be successful, but you are also listening to them and trying to understand the context in which they are playing, which helps you understand the context of today. So it's 2 ways. So when you have an opportunity to mentor people, don't think, oh, I'm giving up myself. I'm the one that is giving. No, think of it as a learning opportunity. Think of it as an opportunity for you to also take something away from that relationship and to build on yourself and to strengthen yourself. So I, of course, I know there are several of us here who have businesses of our own, of varying degrees. And I thought it was important for us to also talk about entrepreneurs. Because for me, entrepreneurs are the lifeblood of any society. You go any country in the world, SMEs are more than any other type of companies in the world. So They hire more people, they provide more opportunities. It is the aim of any government to make sure that there are more entrepreneurs, more SMEs and all of that. So for me, they're very important. And to that extent, I'm saying that it's not just, we should not only think about professionals when we're thinking of career. Being an entrepreneur is a career. And in fact, it's an even more exciting career. I'm not saying everybody should be entrepreneurs, but I'm just talking about the excitement that goes with, creating something. Because if you think about it in the way of the world today, people in their lifetimes can create 5 different companies and transition from one to the other. So yes, in the past, our parents will build one company and stick with it for 50, 40 years and try to hand it over to their children. Today, what's happening is people are setting up ventures. In 5 to 10 years, they are selling it, moving on to the next venture. In 5 years, they are selling it, moving on to the next venture. That's the way of the world today. So being an entrepreneur is it's also an important career. And it's something that you need to plan and have objectives and have goals for, and how you want to approach it. You have to think very carefully about the opinions of others. So you're very good at what you do. You know your business, you're successful. But at the same time, you need sounding boards. You need people, 2 types of people. One, a professional. People who understand, technical details of business, you can have a discussion with about a particular problem. You also need people who are business people, who understand the mindset of an entrepreneur. You need people who are external to you, who have no stake in your business, who take no benefit out of your business, who you can use as a sounding board, who you can use to say, look, this is what I'm going through, this is where I am in the life cycle of my business, what do you think? Who can give you that kind of advice? Sometimes people have to buy it, by getting consultants. Some people might be lucky. In a community like this, in a church, you can find somebody else who has a business. I know that the Redeemed Christian Church of God has the Christian Businessmen's Fellowship. That's something that you can join and be part of and meet other people who are professionals, who are business people, who you can learn from, who you can share ideas with, who can be sounding boards for you to be better. Attend seminars, workshops. You can't know it all. That's the bottom line. You have to have networks. You have to learn from others. You have to share your experiences. The things that you hold true might not actually be true, but you won't know until you speak to somebody else. So attend all of these things to make you better. I'll give you an example. I have a coursemate of mine from when I did my executive MBA at the Lagos Business School. When he came in, his name is Paul. When he came in, he was a trader. What he used to do was he would import toys, children's toys. He was running a company that sold children's toys. So he would import toys and sell in Nigeria then. Man was a successful trader. You know how our Igbo brothers are very good at business. But he decided to go and do an MBA, an executive MBA for that matter. When he came out, Paul then created his own doll, an African doll, a black doll. I ask anybody to Google Auldon. It's Auldon. An African doll. Black, wearing African clothes. That's what Paul does today. From the things that he learned by going to get more learning. He was running a successful business. He didn't have to do anything, but he challenged himself, went back, learned about that, and came out and developed his own doll, his own toy, and started selling it. Today, Paul is at the Harvard Business School. He's going to graduate in another few months with a public sector degree as well. Consistently bettering himself. That's what he does. This is a man that started as a trader. So you cannot know it all. You cannot know the opportunities that are available to you until you try, until you find out, until you explore, until you go out there and see some things that are out of your comfort zone. Those are the kind of things that are available out there. I have been talking about self-evaluate, and something that I will never stop talking about. Maybe it's because I'm a performance management person. Self-evaluation is critical. Because if I'm telling you set goals, set objectives for yourself, if you're not evaluating them, then it's of no use. Self-evaluation is critical. You have to look back and say, have I accomplished my objectives? Have I gotten to where I need to get to? What more do I need to do? And I say, do not be afraid to try something new or pivot to a new career track. So don't get stuck in the mindset that I'm a professional, so I can't go and start a business, or I'm a business person, I can't go and, take on a profession. It's not about failure or not doing well. It's about your objectives. It's about sticking to your principles and knowing that, yes, ultimately this is where I want to get to. Perhaps this is a segue that I can take that can help me get to that place. So do not be afraid to change. Do not get bound by what you are currently doing such that you are not open to trying something else. And then I wanted to talk about, so you're an entrepreneur, but don't only focus on yourself. You have people that are working for you. They too have hopes and aspirations. They too are looking to build careers. What opportunities are you providing for them to grow? Perhaps you might identify a bright young spark in your company, and you know that this person, the trajectory for him is beyond what you see for your business immediately. Do you hold the person back? Or do you let that person know their potential and create opportunities for them to learn and say, look, this is as far as I can take you, but I want you to try this out, learn this. Not forcing them out, not pushing them out, but helping them to see their potential and helping them to get those opportunities. You never know. It could be that could change your life. I'll give you an example. There was a lady that was running a furniture shop in Nigeria, and she hired this young, straight out of school guy and told him to be her office manager. And very bright guy, no previous work experience, but he was very entrepreneurial and very smart and always thinking about how to do things differently. And they got talking, and before you knew it, she realized that she was learning things from him and that he could be important in some of the thinking that she had. So she had been an entrepreneur. She had built a business from scratch and she had done it the right way. Building a business, having proper systems, having proper processes. So they started, in the back and forth in discussions with each other, they finally conceptualized that they could actually create an SME toolkit that they could make available to other people, such that they could help businesses understand how to run a proper business. Because when you're running an SME, there's one critical thing that stops you, is always finance. But the reason why you can't get finance is not because there's no finance available. It's because businesses don't trust you, because you don't have proper governance, because you don't have proper systems. So if you help companies have proper systems, you can get to that place. And in doing that thinking, they then began to evolve the business that they were in, such that they were able to make an acquisition that turned that business around. They made an acquisition of a warehouse that then catapulted the business into a production outfit from a business that was merely importing things. And this was from somebody who was straight out of school. So think about it, if she had only seen that young man as an office manager and said, do your job, take care of whatever you're supposed to do in the office. There was no engaging, there was no conversations. She would not have seen the opportunity she saw to grow her business to the level that it went to. So some of us have people working for us. They might not be fantastic today, but we see the potential because they have the capacity to learn. They have the capacity to translate what they learn into outcomes. So you need to nurture that. When you have that opportunity, you need to nurture that. You need to help them grow and help them move to the next level. So I've talked about the different phases so far. And then I come to where I'm trying to talk about, so what do you do to supercharge your career? So we're all in different phases, and I'm sure whatever the phase you are in, you've picked something for yourself, I'm hoping. But some of the things I think that are common to all of us, it's that we must aim to be the best at what we do. That's it. Just aim to be the best at what you do. Find out what does best mean in what I do. Think about it. I like sports a lot. I'm a massive football fan. And one of my favorite player right now is Cristiano Ronaldo. Nobody embodies pursuit of excellence more than him. In fact, I think my other favorite sportsman is LeBron James. So both of them do the same thing. Maybe that's why I like them. That pursuit of excellence, the constant pursuit of being the best. I mean, he says it, I want to be the best in the world. And he puts in the work. Every day he's training. He's 33 years old now, but he's still training, still going out there trying to be the best. That's what you must aim to do. When I came out here, that was what I wanted to do. I wanted to come. I was in Nigeria, I was doing well for myself. I was working for Citibank. I said, no, it wasn't enough. I want to be the best in what I do. They said that place, Dubai, is the Middle East region. That's where all the organs are. Let me go and challenge them there. And that's what you must aim to do. Be the best at what you do. What you do obviously adds value. That's why somebody is paying you for it, or that's why you're making money out of that product. What else can you do to develop yourself to be better? Or as an entrepreneur, what else can you do in the way you deliver your business or your product that can make you the best? So if you aim for the best, who knows where you might land? I've talked earlier about, the world changing. It's a rapidly evolving world and things are becoming obsolete, which means that we also have to learn. We have to be up and doing. We cannot rest on our oars. A lot of people get degrees and that's the last time that they enter a classroom or learn anything. You will not survive in this world if that's the mindset you want to have. The world is changing every day. I'm sure a lot of us have heard about cryptocurrency. I mean, who knew before that some people could create something that has no basis, has no backing in financial world, and is turning the financial world upside down, so that now they are creating exchanges for it. Banks that were talking bad about it before are now doing it. Regulators that didn't want to hear about it before are now making regulations for it. And that's the way of the world. We need to be agile. We need to, be ready for these changes and build ourselves up and our capabilities. We need to be adaptable, resilient, and forward-looking. Adaptable means you are ready for change. If something comes today that you didn't plan for, you roll with it. Because you have your principles and your mechanism for thinking, you make yourself make it work. Resilience talks about, in the face of adversity, you can respond. As Christians, nobody should even teach us about resilience. You need to be forward-looking. You're always, thinking what's next. How do I take advantage of opportunities? How do I be better? How do I be successful? Do not rest on your laurels. There's more that can be achieved. I like this. I hope people have read Romans 8:37. You can't let failure hold you back. You will succeed if you continue to try and push yourself. And then finally, I talk about it being the digital age. I've said a few things about this, but I can't say it enough. In my company, we have this slogan, digitize or die. That's how my company thinks, because I'm talking about a $9 billion company that is saying to itself, either we digitize or our business will die. Because the world has gone digital. I'll give you an example. In China today, they have this platform called WeChat. It's like WhatsApp. WeChat practically does everything. They use it to make payments. They don't use cards. They don't use cash. They go everywhere. They use their WeChat. Everything is WeChat. So you can imagine if you go there and you were not even using WhatsApp before and you don't know how to use all of these technologies, you'll be like a fish out of water. And that's the way the world is going. Everything is digital. Everything is digital. There's this particular day of sales that they do in China as well. I can't remember what they call that day, but it's a particular day of sales. They do it online. It's only online sales. Pardon? Thank you. Only online. The most recent one, I think they did about $25 billion in one day in sales? Everything is digital. So if you are not on the digital train and trying to be digital professional, you're going to miss out. And it's simple, understanding the tools and how these things work. It's nothing out of this world, but you need to build up the capabilities and have the mindset, the understanding that this is the world in which I work in. And that leads me to my next slide, which I think is about the last one. I talk about future trends. And focusing on those of us that want to work on one hand, and those of us that are working that also have entrepreneurial mindset. I'm trying to share with you what's happening in the workplace. So we're seeing a lot of studies that say there will be significant change in the workplace in the future. A lot about automation and artificial intelligence. I hope we understand what that means. That's already happening. We're seeing robots in factories, we're seeing robots in warehouses, which are taking over jobs from human beings. So what are those human beings doing? How are human beings preparing themselves for that world that is already here and would continue to escalate? McKinsey, in a future work of report, said 60% of occupations that we have today, 60%, think about it, 6 out of every 10, 1/3 of the tasks that they do can be automated. So what we're saying is that 60% of the work today, they can take away 1/3 of what you do and automate it. So if I can take away 1/3 of what you do and leave you with 2/3, why would I need 2 people to do something? I'll simply combine the 2/3 and create only 1 job. And if we can do that today, think of what can happen tomorrow or in 5 years' time. So people need to be prepared for that future. When you think of your career, you have to think beyond today. And that's why I kept saying that the traditional ways of thinking about a career are over. You have to think about what are the opportunities for the future. And not just for us, but think about our children. What space are they coming into? And how do we prepare them to be successful in the world of the future? The second thing is about digitization, which I think is a positive. So the first one is a challenge to us. The second one is also a challenge, but it's a different way. You see, the thing is, we're finding out that the information age is as it's creating challenges with AI, is creating opportunities. So we have what we call the gig economy. And they're saying that by 2020, 40% of American workers will be independent contractors. What it means is that people would no longer need to tie themselves to a particular employer. So there will be no employment relationship. What will happen is I have this skill and this capability, and I can sell it to 10 different companies. So when you need me, you take this part of my time, I'll give you an appointment, 2 hours of my time every day for the next 2 weeks, I'll work for you. At the same time as I'm leaving you, I'm going to work for person A. Because it's a knowledge age. I have the capability myself, and so I can farm myself out to people. So the worker then has the control. To get to that level of control, you have to put in the work. You have to develop yourself. All of the things that I've talked about, build your expertise, let people know you, get validation, get recognition. Then you can sell yourself to numerous people. So you don't tie yourself to one employer. So if one company has challenges, you know that you have multiple income streams. And what allows you to do that is the digital age, it's the information technology. You have your laptop and your connection to internet. You can work for anybody. You can work online. Everything is in the cloud. You submit your reports, you submit the body of work that you're doing. I'll give you an example. There's something called crowdsourcing. So the company I used to be with was AstraZeneca. It was a pharma company. So it was a specialty care company. We used to research into cancers and all those serious diseases. But you can't have all the best minds in your own company alone. You can't. So what the company did was to say, look, we've investigated this disease up to this level. We're putting it out there. As many people as can add their own to it, do it, and we all take the glory for it. Because at the end of the day, the ultimate outcome is to bring out a drug that cures a certain disease. So you don't force yourself and say, oh, it's only my company that will work on it, even though it will take you 20 years. Why waste all that time? Today, they're crowdsourcing things. You're asking multiple people. Because technology allows us to do that, allows me to sit down in Dubai and have a meeting with somebody who is in Australia and another person who is in Brazil at the same time. It also means that we can all work together at the same time and contribute to moving things forward. That is the world that we live in today and the world that is to come. So we need to be ready for those challenges. We need to prepare ourselves. We need to be capable of taking advantage of those opportunities that are being created every day. I think that's about it. Okay, so those were the thoughts that I wanted to share. I don't know how much time I have or if I've overrun the time. But I'd like to, I don't know if there are any questions, comments, I'd be happy to take them. Fantastic. Okay, so I have a couple of questions here. The first one says, can geography be a hindrance to career growth and achievement? I'd say no. I'd say no for one or two reasons. One, like I said, it's about ownership. You take ownership of your career. So you need to know what your limitations are. Of course, we know that some people have limitations because of family, because of certain reasons, they can't go beyond a certain geography. But the second thing then tells me that because of the age that we're talking about, digitization and technology and all of that, you don't have to live where you are to be successful. I was having a recent conversation with people where we were talking about women who have to leave work and then become stay-at-home moms or all of that. I've read stories of people who become very successful even though they never leave their homes. And they are working with people all over the world. So geography cannot stop you from being successful in today's world. Before, yes, because you had to actually physically go into an office to progress. Today, you don't have to. There's so many things you can do in your living room that will make you successful. And okay, so the person has a follow-up question that says, if yes, well, I said no. If yes, for people who, when do you know it is time to move geographically? Like I said, it's up to you. If you've been planning your career the way I talked about, if you've thought about the phases and been planning for what you would do next, for what needs to happen for you to get to the next level, you would know, because it will be about opportunities, not about geography. Let us be mindful of that. You are not moving for sake of, I want to go and live somewhere. You are moving for sake of, I want to take advantage of an opportunity that doesn't exist where I am, but exists somewhere else. So if that's the mindset, yes, you can find that opportunities are open to you. But like I said, some people don't even have to live where they are to be successful. I didn't leave Nigeria before I was looking after the whole of Africa. When I was given that responsibility, looking after 15 countries in Africa, I was still based in Nigeria. I didn't have to leave. So, I mean, there are many opportunities where you are, and technology makes the world smaller today. Any other questions, comments?
Thank you, sir. We take more questions if you have them. But quickly, I just want to add that today's speech can be made available to you. The PowerPoint slides that have been presented can be emailed to you. You only need to request. If you request it, we'll email them to you. How do you request it? Send a WhatsApp message containing your email. Just send your email to this number, 05. Just send your email to 0522440813. 0522440813. Do we all get that? Who needs it? Who's missing it? Who's missing it? You're missing it. 0522440813. Just email, WhatsApp your email to that number, and we'll send email to you the full slides. We'll also provide a link to the audio. The audio will be loaded on YouTube, so you will be able to see that on YouTube. But once it's loaded on YouTube, we'll also send the link to you. So, yeah, we've taken one question. You don't have to write your question down. You can just raise your hand, and a mic will be given to you to ask your question. But if you've written it down, you can pass it across as well. Excellent. So, we'll have one final question, and then that'll be for this session. Just before we ask the final question, we'd like to inform you that our sponsors, the Redeemed Christian Church of God, have told us at RCCG Events LLC that they will sponsor this program for the rest of the year. Therefore, thank you. We are grateful again to Pastor Charles Adegoke, who has provided us with this platform at our company, RCCG Events LLC. We are available to organize your programs, your seminars, your exhibitions, your team building events, whatever programs that you are looking to organize. Next month's program will therefore be holding on the third Friday. It's going to be third Friday of every month from 12 o'clock to 2 o'clock. 12th Friday of June, third Friday of July, third Friday of August, third Friday of every month we will be here. The intention is that these seminars will be like your hot air balloon that can supercharge your life, supercharge your career, turbocharge you, and act like a catalyst to help you do more than you ever thought you can achieve. So now we'll have one more question and answer, and we'll be done for today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful message. We really appreciate it. So I have a question on entrepreneur. Maybe you have an idea to create maybe a small-scale business in Nigeria as a setting, and there are a lot of variables you need to consider. First is the inconsistent power supply. Second is access to loan. You know, as a beginner, when you approach a bank for loan, they will be asking for collateral, which you may not have to present. And secondly, their interest rate is very high, 30%. As a beginner who is going to a challenging market, in that situation where you are crowded with all this kind of uncertainty, how are you going to handle it? Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I think that's a great question. What I always say to people is, if you've decided to be an entrepreneur, you have to understand that it's a journey. So a lot of times I find that people want to be successful immediately and don't think about organic growth. So whatever business you're trying to start, you have to start small and begin to grow it as you mean to go along. That's the way. You cannot start out and say, the first thing I want to do is to seek finance from a bank. No bank is going to help you until you have put your own money. And they've seen you successful over a period of time. So you start small and you plow back. More importantly, you build the right processes. You have to run it in a proper business mindset. So separate yourself from the business. If you need to pay yourself a small salary, do it. Keep proper books. So the beginning will be challenging, but you need to do that to convince somebody else to invest their money with you. But the other thing is, if you have a fantastic idea, there are also people who are called venture capitalists who are able to fund you in a way that is different from that of a bank. So when they fund you, what they are looking to do is to take a stake in your business. So it's not a loan. So they provide seed capital that you need to start off and take a stake in your business, but they are looking to exit. So you have to understand that at some point they want to take their money out and take it out at a profit. So you have to be ready for that. So it depends on what business you're going for. But what I typically tell people is you start out by yourself, you use your own resources, and that typically we say friends and family are the first people that you reach out to. You build that, but you build a proper business, you build it in a structured way. When you've done that over a cycle or two, then you can begin to seek finance from banks, from other people who will help you go to the next level. But nobody would invest in you if you haven't created something at all. You have to create something of value.
The richest man in Saudi Arabia today he started as a failure, but he believed himself that he can still make it. And he keep on borrowing money, and he was making a loss. At a point in time, he approached a financial advisor. And one of the mistakes we made is that we are afraid to borrow money. So don't ever be afraid to take a risk. That's number one. Number two is that factor the risk on the business. Okay, as a finance person, if you're going to start a business, you factor that risk. You factor the interest, you factor the bank charges, onto your selling price so as to make sure that you can absorb the risk. That's from finance point of view. So when you go to the market, when you go to the bank, you are able to sell your product to the bank. You're very proud about it. They tell you they're going to charge you 5%, 20%, 30%. You don't care about it. You factor that risk into the business so that the business can do what? It can absorb it. And at the end of it, you prepare a cash flow, a budget, a future plan. You will find out that despite the fact that the bank is charging you 30% or 35%, your return on the investment can still do what? It can absorb it. But if the return on the investment cannot absorb it, what do? You tell the bank, I'm sorry, I can't take the loan. Okay?
Thank you.
We're so grateful, deeply grateful. Let me ask you this question. How many of you have been turbocharged? How many of you have been turbocharged? Okay, let's even assume you were not turbocharged. Were you supercharged? Because I know that some of the information that have been provided, the information that can turbocharge you and help you. For example, I was particularly amazed when a lecturer said that in America in 2020, you can begin to, work for like 20 people. One person can work for 20 people. I donate 1 hour of my life to you. Pay me for that 1 hour. After I have finished with you, and then I can move on to another person because you have the expertise, and then they also can hire you for another 3 hours. Isn't that wonderful? So that means that, you're no longer tied down to the traditional understanding of work. Your work is no longer linear, like he said, and is no longer homogeneous, like he said, that you have versatility and that you can apply yourself, invest in yourself, invest in your time, invest in your career. I think the bottom line is that do something different. Think differently, do something differently. And then, of course, the value that you add to yourself and you bring on the table will be compensated, isn't it? So don't start accusing one particular employer that is not remunerating you properly. They will not remunerate you properly if the value you bring to the table is not an excellent value. Thank you so much, sir, for this brilliant expose. And thank you for everybody that has attended this month's success seminar. Like that balloon you saw, it's preparing you. Hopefully, in another 6 months, when we evaluate all that the opportunities were provided, you can come back and say that some of these opportunities have been wonderful. You have gone back to apply them, and they have done your life they have made meaning to your life. One more time, thank you for your patience. Thank you all for coming. And hopefully, we'll see you next month in June, third week in June 12, about this time. And we would have another guest teacher or lecturer who will take us into another world. Thank you so very much. God bless you. Meeting over.